Doctors will tell you that when the heart stops, the brain shuts down within seconds. Darkness follows. End of story. But I'm here to tell you that when my heart stopped on a Tuesday morning in 2002, the darkness wasn't the end. It was a doorway. And what was waiting on the other side didn't just save my life, it completely shattered my understanding of what it means to be alive. But before we get to the light, we have to talk about the darkness. We have to talk about the 9-year lie I was living. It started way back in the schoolyard. You know how cruel kids can be? Those taunts about my looks didn't just hurt my feelings, they colonized my mind. They planted a seed of inadequacy that grew into a towering obsession. I didn't just want to be thin. I wanted to be acceptable. I wanted to be safe. And in college, I found a chemical shortcut to that safety. It was called phentermine. Now, on paper, this is a prescription drug meant for the short term, a few weeks, maybe 3 months tops, to help obese patients jumpstart weight loss. But for me, it became my oxygen. It became the battery pack that powered my entire existence. For 9 years, not 3 months, 9 years I abused this stimulant. It allowed me to construct a facade of perfection. I was the high-energy mom, the attentive wife, the star student. I was running on rocket fuel, barely sleeping, barely eating, convincing myself that the palpitations in my chest were just the price of admission for being perfect. I was waging a chemical war against my own biology. My body was screaming for help, breathlessness, anxiety, a heart beating out of rhythm, but I wasn't listening. I was too busy maintaining the illusion. Until that Tuesday morning, I was standing in my kitchen, mid-conversation, when the bill finally came due. It wasn't a slow fade. It was a violent, catastrophic system failure. A searing pain tore through my chest, like a hot wire snapping, and my lungs just locked. I remember the desperate, animalistic panic of trying to inhale and getting nothing. The floor rushed up to hit my face, and my last conscious thought was a terrifying question. Is this it? Is this all my life was worth? Then the lights went out. But here is where physics gets weird. I didn't cease to exist. I was suddenly, violently ejected from my body. 1 second I'm gasping on the linoleum. The next I'm hovering near the ceiling, weightless, painless, and completely calm. I looked down, and I saw a woman lying there. I saw the paramedics rushing in, their faces tight with stress, working frantically on a body that I knew, with absolute certainty, I no longer needed. It was like looking at a discarded coat. The panic was gone. The shame about my weight, gone. In its place was a presence. Someone was there with me, radiating an energy of pure, liquid love. It felt like being wrapped in a warm blanket after being out in a blizzard for decades. And in that safety, I surrendered. I let go of the control I had fought so hard to keep for 9 years. That surrender was the trigger. A tunnel opened up. You've heard about the tunnel, but words don't do it justice. It was a vortex of brilliant white light, and I was pulled into it at what felt like Mach speed. But it wasn't wind rushing past me, it was love. The air itself was made of love. It was so intense, so pressurized. I remember thinking, I'm going to explode. I literally cannot contain this much joy. I knew exactly where I was going. I was going home, capital H. As I moved deeper, the white light shifted into a living, breathing gold. I merged with it. I didn't lose myself. I was still me, but I was also part of this infinite golden consciousness. And this light spoke to me, not with a voice, but with a telepathic download of pure truth. It told me it was God. Now, I grew up in a strict Christian home. I was expecting a throne, a judge, maybe a list of all the times I messed up. I was expecting fear. What I got was the exact opposite. I was bathed in a love so absolute it erased every scar on my soul. There was zero judgment. None. Then began the life review. But this wasn't a movie screen. It was a reliving. First, I saw my life through my own eyes. Graduation, marriage, motherhood. And God was there, cheering me on, showing me that even my struggles had value. I felt like a cherished child. But then, my human brain, my ego kicked in. I thought, wait, this is too easy. Where's the punishment? I abused drugs. I lied. Why aren't I being judged? God sensed my hesitation instantly. And this is where it gets surreal. A pair of glasses appeared in the void. Huge glasses. The lenses were the size of cars. I know how that sounds, but in that realm, it made perfect sense. I put them on, and the perspective shifted violently. The second review began. This time, I didn't see my life through my eyes. I saw it through yours. I saw it through the eyes of everyone I had ever met. I felt the sting of my careless words on my sister's heart. I felt the warmth of a smile I gave a stranger. I experienced the ripple effect of my own existence. I felt what they felt. To drive this point home, God showed me a vision. He held a rock. He said, I am the rock. I am the light. He dropped it into a vast, endless ocean. Mankind is the water, he said. You are the ripple. I watched that single ripple expand outward, touching everything, going on forever. The message was crushing and beautiful. We think our little lies, our little acts of kindness, our private thoughts don't matter, but they do. Every single thing we do affects the entire ocean of humanity. I realized I had spent my life chasing big achievements, looks, status, perfection, while missing the actual point of life, the small ripples of love. God then showed me infinite shelves of gifts. He explained that everyone is born with a unique toolkit. He told me my gifts were patience and beauty. I almost laughed. I argued with God. I said, beauty? Are you kidding? My whole life has been a desperate, failed attempt to be beautiful. And he corrected me. He showed me that true beauty isn't skin deep. It's the energy of love you project outward. It's the light you shine on others. I had been starving myself for a version of beauty that didn't exist while ignoring the one I actually possessed. Then the vision shifted to something terrifying. I saw the earth engulfed in flames. My heart stopped again. I thought of my kids down there. But then the giant glasses returned. Through the lenses, I saw the truth. Rising up from between the flames were millions of silvery white souls floating unharmed toward heaven. I said, oh, it's okay. They're safe. But I felt a wave of grief coming from God. He wasn't sad for the ones coming home. He was grieving for the ones who chose to stay away. He showed me a place of cold, empty separation, not a fiery pit, but a void where souls who rejected love simply existed in their own isolation. It was a stark lesson in free will. We aren't sent to hell. We choose to separate ourselves from the light. I wanted to stay. God, I wanted to stay so bad. The love there was better than anything on earth, even the love for my children. But the voice came, child, you're not staying. You work for me now. The return was brutal. It wasn't a gentle waking up. It was like being shoved into a wetsuit 2 sizes too small. I slammed back into my body, into the pain, into the heavy, crushing gravity of the ER. The monitors were beeping. My ribs hurt. I was back in the box. But the hardest part wasn't the physical recovery. It was the psychological aftermath. Imagine having the secrets of the universe downloaded into your brain. Imagine knowing for a fact that death is a lie and love is the only reality. You want to shout it from the rooftops. So, I told a doctor. I opened up completely about the tunnel, the light, the messages, and this is where the system failed me. At 31 years old, with no history of mental illness, I was committed to a psychiatric ward. They didn't see a spiritual awakening. They saw a drug-induced psychosis. They saw a hallucination caused by cardiac arrest. They separated me from my children. They medicated me into a zombie-like state. It was the ultimate betrayal. I had just been with God, and now I was being treated like I was insane. It took a long time to climb out of that hole. I had to heal from the phentermine damage, yes, but I also had to heal from the trauma of being silenced. I had to learn that my experience was valid, even if medical science didn't have a textbook for it yet. I realized that this rejection was part of the training. I had to be broken down to rebuild myself on a foundation of truth, not pills. I eventually turned that pain into purpose. I realized God sent me back, not to just exist, but to be that ripple. Today, I work as a transformation coach, helping others bridge the gap between their trauma and their spiritual truth. I help people realize what I learned the hard way. You don't need to starve yourself to be worthy. You don't need to fit in to be loved. You are the rock. You are the light. You are the ripple. And everything you do matters more than you can possibly imagine.